I let them live in my apartment, drive my car, spend my $5,400. At Christmas dinner in my own living room, Dad smiled and said, "Maybe it's time you moved out." Mom followed, "No room for you, I feel awful, truly." Everyone nodded. Someone said, "It's only fair." I said nothing. But that night I canceled everything and sent one message. They were shocked, but an even bigger surprise awaited them the next day. "You know," my dad said, swirling his wine like he was narrating a Netflix special. "Maybe it's time you moved out. Get your own place. Give us some space." I didn't answer, mostly because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. We were sitting in my living room, at my dining table, under the string lights I hung last month to make the place feel less like a box. Nicole had her feet tucked under her on the velvet chair I bought last fall. Mom was wearing my hoodie. Dad was drinking a bottle of wine I picked up from the nice shelf, not the discount one I usually go for, and they were asking me to leave. Mom followed his line like a script. "There's just no room for you here anymore." I feel awful, truly. She didn't look at me when she said it. Someone mumbled, "It's only fair," and a few heads nodded like they were on a panel voting me off the island. I looked around the room. My couch. My walls. My lease. Nicole just raised her eyebrows and sipped from the mug she'd stolen from my kitchen this morning. The one that says "Introvert in Recovery." The irony made my stomach twist. I didn't say a word. I let the silence do the work. Let the sound of forks scraping plates fill the space where a family should have been. The part that stuck in my throat wasn't even what they said. It was how naturally they said it. Like, I was the guest. Like, I hadn't been the one who let them move in, who loaned them my car, who covered $5,400 worth of rent, food, bills, and emergency vet visits for Nicole's dog this month alone. They lived in my apartment, ate my groceries, used my streaming accounts, and now they were done with me? I lay awake that night on the sofa, the same one I gave up my bed for, staring at the ceiling fan as it spun like it was trying to hypnotize me into staying quiet again. I replayed every favor, every bill, every excuse they gave, every time I made it work so they wouldn't feel ashamed. At 2:11 a.m., I got up. No music. No dramatic pacing. Just calm. I opened the bank app, turned off card access, paused utilities, disabled guest Wi-Fi, opened our family chat, and typed one sentence. "This is no longer your address. Good luck." Then I set the phone down and went back to the couch. They'd be shocked in the morning, but that wasn't even the real surprise. 3 hours after I sent that message, I woke up to banging on my front door. Not knocking, banging. I didn't even have time to finish my coffee before the screaming started. "Open the door." That I was Dad. Nicole chimed in from behind him, all breathy and dramatic. "He's just mad because we asked him to be an adult for once." I stood in the hallway. I could hear Mom sobbing, emotional pressure right on cue. "Just talk to us, please. Don't make this worse." I opened the door halfway, just enough for them to see my face. Just enough for them to see that I was done playing the role they wrote for me. Dad's face twisted into that performative mix of rage and hurt he thinks makes him look like a good father pushed too far. "You really locked us out? You canceled everything? You're treating us like strangers?" "You're not criminals," I said, voice flat. "You've been living off me." Mom gasped. Nicole scoffed like she was about to launch into a speech. I shut the door before she could. They stayed outside for a full hour. I didn't open it again. That day, I checked the bank again. The savings account I thought was fine was empty. Nicole had access. It was for emergencies. Apparently, buying herself a new iPad counted. I checked the receipts. She used my card to order it the same day she told me she couldn't even afford shampoo. I didn't text her. I didn't call. I sent her a screen recording of the transaction. Her reply? "OMG, calm down. It's not like you were using it. You're always so dramatic." I stared at that message for a long time. That was the moment the switch flipped. 3 days later, I was tagged in a post, Nicole's. A picture of her in a fancy cafe downtown, smiling with 2 friends I didn't recognize. The caption? "Finally free from toxic energy, #new chapter, #some people never grow up." 30 comments. One of them, my cousin Brooke wrote, "You deserve peace, babe. You've always been the strong one." I didn't reply. I screenshotted everything. The next day, I got a text from my boss, "Hey. Just a heads up. Someone called HR and said you've been using company software for personal gain." Anonymous tip. Sounded weird, but I'm letting you know. Only 3 people knew I worked from home on that laptop. Only one of them used my guest login every morning to check her Facebook, Nicole. Later that night, I found my toothbrush snapped in half in the bathroom. My bed stripped. My favorite hoodie gone. It was Nicole. She'd snuck in earlier while I was out, still had the key. I changed the locks that evening, installed cameras, logged her out of everything, even Spotify. Then I called the landlord and officially removed her name from the emergency contact field she never should have been in. And I posted one thing on my story, just black background and white text. The line between family and user gets thinner when they start using your money to fund their lies. It sat there for 24 hours. Then I deleted it. I didn't need their comments. But the real blow came 5 days later. One of Nicole's old exes, Jason, messaged me. We'd barely spoken before, but he said he saw the post and just had a feeling. She used to do the same stuff to me, man. Told her parents I hit her when I broke up with her. I still got the messages where she threatened to burn everything if I didn't pay her rent. He sent screenshots, dozens. Some of them had my name in them. Stuff like, he'll help. He always does. He's too soft to say no. That one made me sit down. At this point, my dad finally cracked. He made a post on Facebook, a long self-pitying rant about ungrateful children, and how sad it is when the ones you love most betray you. He didn't name me. He didn't have to. The comments did it for him. My aunt wrote, he let you live in his place and now you turn on him? My cousin tagged me and said, you always had issues, bro. Maybe get help instead of airing dirty laundry. And Nicole? She added, he's always been unstable. He just hides it behind money and fake kindness. That was the moment I stopped reacting and started collecting. I bought a new hard drive. I dug through old backups, emails, photos, messages. I pulled receipts from PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, notes from conversations, even audio because I'd recorded one in July when Nicole said, I mean, if you're already paying for rent, what's one more little favor? She laughed when she said it. I didn't. I had all I needed. And just when I thought they couldn't sink any lower, my dad called my boss again. This time pretending to be an anonymous client. He filed a fake complaint. It backfired. HR called me in, but I'd already warned them. Already showed them proof of who had access to my devices. My manager told me to handle it privately, but thanked me for the heads up. I didn't handle it privately. I was done being private. I scheduled a dinner, Christmas. I told them we needed to talk. I made sure they came. They didn't know I had copies. They didn't know who else I invited. They didn't know the table they'd be sitting at was already set with the kind of truth you don't walk away from without a scar. And I wasn't done. Not even close. I set the table myself for plates, for chairs. The fourth wasn't for me. Christmas dinner in my own apartment, the same one I paid for, furnished, and got pushed out of. But this time, I chose the guest list. They arrived around 6. Dad in his blazer acting like nothing happened. Nicole in her usual fake laugh mode. Mom with that let's be civil expression she always wears when she's about to lie to my face. Smells good, Dad said, like we were playing house. I didn't answer, just gestured to the table. We sat in silence for the first few minutes. I let them eat, let them get comfortable, let them think this was reconciliation. Then I pulled out the first envelope. Before we get too deep into this festive crap, I said, I have something to share. I slid the envelope across the table to Nicole. What's this? She asked. Your Amazon order history. Using my card, $3,174.26. Mostly candles and crap you post on Instagram. Her face dropped. I turned to my mom. This one's yours, I said, sliding her a second envelope. Screenshots from your text with Nicole. The ones where you said, and I quote, he's too soft to fight back. He'll come around like he always does. She blinked, then reached for her wine. And you, I said, turning to Dad, don't worry. I saved the best for last. I picked up the iPad I'd placed beside my plate and tapped the screen. An audio clip started playing. If he cuts us off, I'll handle it. His job isn't secure anyway. I'll call his boss myself if I have to. We'll make him beg. My father's voice, his mouth opened, closed. No words came out. Just a red flush crawling up his neck. That's from your call with Uncle Jared, I added. He recorded it. Said you crossed a line. Send it to me last night. Mom started to speak, but I cut her off. Oh, and Nicole? I said, pulling out a small hard drive and placing it gently in front of her. Remember this? Her eyes went wide. I found your backup. 5 folders. One labeled FFM. Inside, fake messages, edited screenshots, and audio you cut and pasted together to make it look like I threatened you. She stood up so fast her chair nearly tipped. That's not true. Sit down. I said it low and steady. She sat and then I gave them the final blow. You tried to destroy my job, my reputation. You emptied my savings. You called me unstable, But here's what you didn't expect. I stood up and opened the door and walked Jason, Nicole's ex. He was holding a folder. Nicole gasped, "What is he doing here?" He walked to the table like he'd been waiting for this day for years. "Hello again," he said calmly, then turned to my parents. "I want you both to see this. This is a copy of the police report I never filed about how Nicole harassed me after I left. Here's a printout of the messages she sent threatening to ruin my life if I didn't keep quiet." Nicole jumped up again. "He's lying. He's just bitter." Jason ignored her. He looked at my dad. "She told me you believed every word she said, that you backed her because you hated your son more than you loved the truth." My father's face turned white. Then Jason turned to me. "Thanks for the invitation. Hope this helps." He left without another word. Silence followed him out the door. I sat down, looked around the table. "You built a story where I was the villain. You sold it to the whole family, but you didn't count on one thing." I tapped the hard drive. "Receipts don't lie, and neither do people who are done being used." "Mom, reach for my arm, please. This doesn't have to be ugly. We can talk. We're still family." "No," I said. "We're done." Nicole's voice cracked. "You can't cut us off. We live here." "Not anymore." I stood up and pulled out the final card. "Here's your real Christmas gift," I said, tossing an envelope onto the table. "It's a formal notice to vacate, effective immediately. I'm the leaseholder. You're not even listed. I gave you a place to stay. You tried to erase me in it." Dad's voice was pure venom now. "You're going to regret this." "I already did," I said, "for years." Then I walked to the door and held it open. Nobody moved out. Nicole was the first to break. "You're serious? Try me." She looked at my mom, then Dad. No one said a word. Finally, they stood quiet, small, dismantled. As they walked past me, I handed Nicole a second envelope. "What's this?" she hissed. "A report outlining every unreported payment," I said. "All your cash apps. Every payment you took and didn't report." You called me dramatic. I call it documentation. They left in silence. No shouting. No begging because they knew. This time, I wasn't bluffing. And for the first time in years, I wasn't just defending myself. I was winning. The morning after Christmas dinner, I woke up to my alarm. For the first time in years, it wasn't because someone needed money, a ride, or a miracle. It wasn't guilt. It was clarity. I rolled over, grabbed my phone, and started cutting wires. The shared Netflix account? Cancelled. The cell plan with my dad's number? Removed. The Apple Pay card Nicole had borrowed? Deactivated. The Wi-Fi in the apartment they used to call home? Terminated. The health insurance I'd been covering just for now? Also gone. Everything unplugged. No warning. No explanations. Just silence. The kind that shakes people louder than screams. The last thing I did was call the electric company. "Hi, yes. That account's under my name. I'd like to shut it off." "No. I no longer live there. They'll figure it out." I hung up before she could ask why. By noon, my phone buzzed. "Did you shut off the internet?" Nicole's panicking. "Dude, Mom's crying. She said the fridge isn't working. They're going to freeze without heat." "You serious right now?" I said nothing. Because for the first time, I meant it. That evening, I sat alone in my new apartment. The one they didn't know about. The one I'd been slowly building in silence while they laughed, while they took, while they assumed I'd always be there. The fridge was still empty. No decorations yet, but it smelled like freedom, paint, and hardwood and space that belonged to no one but me, and it hit me. I had nothing left to offer them, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me. At 7:46 p.m., I opened a new Google Doc. Title: Rules for the New Me. Rule 1, no more emergency payments. Rule 2, no more explaining myself. Rule 3, no more help when help is just code for. Stay quiet and sacrifice. Rule 4, don't apologize for walking away from people who burned every bridge then blamed you for the fire. I sat there reading it, breathing it in like it was scripture. 2 days later, I started therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand why I tolerated being used for so long. I walked in and told the therapist everything. How they lived off me, how they laughed at me, how they told me to move out of my own home. She asked what I wanted from our sessions. I said, I want to stop confusing self-sacrifice with love. She just nodded like that answer was exactly right. By Friday, Nicole tried to message me from a burner account. "You went too far. This is disgusting." Then came the voicemail from my dad. "You don't abandon family like this. What you're doing is cruel. People are talking." I sent him one message back. Wrong was letting me think I mattered only when my wallet was open. And then I blocked him again. The more I disconnected, the more I felt whole. I started cooking again, reading, sleeping. I changed my phone number, updated my bank info, locked down every login, every password, every leftover backdoor they might have found. They didn't know where I lived, didn't know where I work now, didn't even know what city I was in. They weren't just out of my life. They were locked out of the operating system. One afternoon, during a session, my therapist asked me, "Do you feel guilty?" I shook my head. I feel clean. Like I finally deleted malware I kept convincing myself was part of the program. She smiled and I did too. They thought I'd come back. They thought I'd cool off, calm down, maybe even apologize like I always did. They thought I'd cave when the silence got too loud, when guilt came knocking, when the family started whispering. He'll come around. He always does, but I didn't and I won't. Because for the first time in my life, I don't want their forgiveness. I want distance and I earned it. A month passed. They tried every tactic: guilt, manipulation, fake concern. Nicole emailed me a photo of us as kids with the caption, "I still love you, you know?" I replied with a voice memo. 1 second of silence, then the sound of me deleting it. Mom left a voicemail crying. "What happened to you? This isn't the son I raised." I didn't respond. But if I had, I would have said, exactly. That version of me is gone. And you helped bury him under everyone just this once. With just this once, every lie you covered, every time you said nothing when I was being ripped apart, Dad? He went quiet. Then, of course, he snapped. Posted a long status on Facebook about ungrateful children and how kindness is always punished these days. I didn't reply. But a week later, I changed the Wi-Fi name in my new apartment to Kindness Ain't Rent. They still don't know where I live. They don't know I changed my number, that I opened a new bank account, that I legally removed them from every document they were ever connected to. Emergency contact? Gone. Shared medical access? Removed. Joint account my mother used, just in case? Frozen solid. They don't even have a spare key to my silence. I blocked them on everything, and I mean everything. Phone, email, socials, Spotify, Uber, Google Drive. Yes. They use my cloud storage too. Not anymore. Someone told me Nicole cried when she realized she couldn't log into Disney Plus. Tell her to grow up. I'm not her fairy tale, but here's the part they still don't get. I didn't just walk away to punish them. I walked away to protect myself from who I was becoming around them. The version of me who swallowed pain like breakfast, who translated insults into favors, who thought loyalty meant letting them crush me as long as they called it love. That version of me is gone and I'm better for it because I didn't leave a family. I escaped a system. A system where money equaled love, silence equaled respect, abuse was excused as just being direct, and gaslighting came wrapped in, "We only want the best for you." I want no contact, not to hurt them, but to finally feel the ground under my own feet. And God, it feels good. There's no chaos now. No 3 a.m. messages asking for rent. No fake birthdays. No guilt trips disguised as catching up. Just air and peace. And finally, myself. You want to know the funny part? I sleep better now. I laugh harder. I cook real food. I even started therapy. And when my therapist asked what I wanted, I said to never again explain why I said no to people who never said thank you. She said that's not healing. That's freedom. I don't know what they're saying about me now. Maybe I'm crazy, selfish, unforgiving. Let them talk. I was all they had when they needed help. Now they can sit with the silence. If you're wondering whether I'll ever open the door again, let me make it simple. I closed the chapter, locked the past, and walked away for good. I'm not coming back. Not for Christmas, not for birthdays, not even for the final goodbye. And if they ever ask why, tell them this. He finally learned the difference between being loved and being used. And once he saw it, he ran and never looked back.